That's not.
I just started, yeah. Welcome, welcome. Hello. 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 Welcome to Spirit Speaks. This is our weekly community conversation, spiritual conversation, discussion, uh, channeling, if you want to call it that, if you like that word, fucking go for it. We're here to have a good time. Talk about some, talk about whatever comes up. Talk about some cool stuff. Um, I had a great, I had some great talks today with some of my clients and some of my friends about spiritual things. And something that came up today was willingness, and I got to kind of see how this person really realized, wow, it really is about willingness, because I mentioned that. I said, oh, the really important thing here is willingness. Like willingness is what makes the biggest difference. And we look at this and we say, oh, uh, one of the most common things that we say is like, oh, it takes time to heal, right? Like, oh, what's required is time, right? And it's not true at all. You could have all the time in the world and still not feel better, still not heal, still not do any of these things, right? However, in a very small amount of time, in actually no time at all, simply with willingness, you're able to accomplish the same amount of healing at the speed of a thought. Very interesting, very fun. Ooh, and the speed of a thought. So it becomes quite fascinating when we see this in action, when we see that willingness to heal is all that is required. Willingness to see clearly, willingness to see differently. And we were even just talking about a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a long time, apparently. And I almost didn't recognize them because they're going by a different name, maybe. Their attitude, it almost seemed like a different person, but then they mentioned a few things that they mentioned a few things that I was like, "Ooh, that's a little too, like, oh, it's becoming more clear to me that I've met this person before, right?" And but they were a different person. They presented themselves in a different way and they expressed themselves in a different way. Um, and I really feel that I don't even want to mention it, that we've met before, right? Like the last time we met wasn't that fun. Didn't go that well, I don't think. So I don't even want to mention it. There's a feeling where it's just like I want this person to just be whoever they want to be. However they want to present. It's like giving someone an opportunity to be undefined, right? Giving someone an opportunity to be whoever they are in the moment of being, as opposed to, well, this is who I expect you to be. This is who you've been before. This is the personality that I'm projecting onto you and therefore making, right? This is how I expect you to behave. This is what I expect you to say, etc. Like giving someone a free pass. You say, hey, you get a free pass to be yourself right now. You know, fear is never justified. And that was so fascinating. This person, it was when we first talked, they were very afraid, very defensive. So it seemed really just me. Um, very defensive, very afraid, and it was a great opportunity. I remember before we talked last time, I was the night before, I hardly got any sleep. For whatever reason, I just was awake. And the whole night, I just focused on my breathing. It was like really slow inhale, really slow exhale. And I was just breathing like that all night. Hardly got any sleep. Hardly got any sleep. And then we met in person the next day. And throughout, the whole conversation was very aggressive, very defensive. And I just kept breathing like that. And it was almost like the breathing, it seemed like the breathing the night before was perfect preparation for this conversation the next day. This like kind of intense, kind of stressful conversation the next day. Super interesting. And it all went, it is what it is, right? But we talked for an hour and a half, and it was just not what you would it's not what I would have expected it to be, you know. And when we spoke this time, you could tell that the thing that had changed had so much to do with willingness and perception. They were willing to see differently. They recognized the way they were seeing things before was not comfortable or helpful, right? They recognized that they were putting themselves in a prison of the mind, you know. And when you realize that that's what you're doing, it makes it hard to keep doing it. It's hard to keep justifying it if you realize that that's what you're doing. You know, if you don't realize that's what you're doing, you could keep doing it for a while, blaming it on all of these external things, right? And he and I even talked about that. We were like, uh, he mentioned something about how people are choosing to be blind. And I was like, well, that's what they seem to have learned, right? We have all this information in this dream of the world, in this dream of life, that seems to encourage us to believe that we are separate from God, seems to encourage us to believe that we are vulnerable bodies destined to die, you know? Um, and so we spoke about this and said, if you're not a body, if you're not a vulnerable body destined to die, fear is not justified. There's no justification for fear if your identity is not that of a body, you know? It was fun. It was a great conversation, but you could see a huge difference in willingness. Huge difference in willingness, huge difference in wanting to see the world differently, wanting to see clearly.
It seems like there's more people, their willingness has changed recently.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect reflection of your own willingness having changed.
It's interesting.
The perfect reflection of your own willingness having changed. It's the same if you see someone around you who's like, you look at them and you're like, oh, they're so awakened. Like they're so far on the path of awakening or any of these things, right? It's a perfect reflection of yourself.
Wow.
And you're asking to see it outside of you because you don't want to see it, you're somehow blocking yourself from seeing it that it is you. And so you say, "Oh, I can't see it inside myself. So if I see it outside, then I basically give what is external the ability to be proof to me, right? Um, Compared to the internal, right? So seeing greater willingness seemingly outside of yourself. Yeah. Yeah, it's a perfect reflection of yourself. Yeah. So fun.
It's like attracting the energy that you're putting out.
Not yes and no. Attracting is a way you could say that might be what it seems like.
Yeah.
Really you're just making it.
Oh, okay.
You're making it, it's coming from you, right? And then it's just like a projection of a movie on a wall, right? Or a movie projector, right? Where there's light coming from you through a filter, and then it's going to project whatever that filter represents. Does that make sense? So if that filter is removed and you're just shining pure love, pure light, right? That's what you're going to see. It's going to bounce off of everything in the field as just pure love is all you're going to see, right? But if you have a filter of a story or a filter of a bodies or whatever, that's what you're going to see, right? So you're recognizing that your filter right now is like, oh, it seems to include bodies, but it also includes willingness to see clearly. It includes willingness to love, right? There's more love shining through.
Yeah.
There's more lightness, lightheartedness, and more willingness shining through than there was before. But again, it's because you changed out the little thing that goes in the projector. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you changed out the little focus lens or you changed out the little colored lens, you know? So, you change out the lens and it's going to project something different, whole different thing.
So interesting. So, I don't know if you want to talk about this stuff, but
I don't either.
no, so I'm trying to think of something to say. Um. So do you think there's a version of me who still sees things in another way, but still exist here and now, but in another dimension?
Um,
Like, are we creating new universe every time we change our thought? Or does that universe already exist? Or do you even want to talk about this? Or is it too wild?
yeah. No, I don't think it's too wild. I think it's helpful. If it's coming up, it's totally helpful. May I have some of your water?
Yeah.
Will you pour some in here? Thank you. Okay, so you're asking if if when we choose to see differently, we're creating a whole new reality. Yes,
Yeah.
we're creating a whole new reality. Does the old one still exist? No, because it never did.
All right. So interesting.
What you're making right now.
So there is only one universe, only one reality, yours. Now, do you think there's many realities from every other person that I've seen, or animal, or other being?
It seems like they're separate. They're not, right? It seems like they're separate. It seems like we have a different perspective because we're looking through different physical eyes, right? Um,
It's a shared universe.
yeah,
And one will,
shared creation.
you think somebody's will is stronger than others? Or no?
No, we have one will.
Okay,
Nope, there's one will.
one will.
If it seems to be that way, it's the ego, right? Because the ego is always seeking to make you different from someone else or to make someone stronger or weaker or to make someone more powerful or less powerful than someone else. Um, these, there seem to be differences in like gifts or skills or character traits or any of these things. And they exist only in the dream, right? They fall away with the individuality that seems to be expressed by the illusion of separation and the illusion of bodies because they are also contributing as a means to the end, right? It's a means to an end. right? The body, the mind, all of these teaching tools that we have, including time itself, right? Time as a teaching tool. Um, these things are means to get to the end, right? They're not the end in and of itself, right? So character traits are the same way, where it seems that someone is gifted in this ability or gifted in that ability. Um, it's only because that's most beneficial, most helpful for learning exactly how it is, right?
Yeah.
So whatever is happening, if someone seems to be gifted in this way or not gifted in that way, or have this ability or not have this ability, uh, it's perfect exactly the way it is. There is genuinely, if we take that as if it has to do with our true identity, which is spirit, right? We take this physical seeming difference between, for example, myself and my brother, right? This physical seeming difference between what we're able to do or what we are good at or any of these things. Um, if we believe a thought that truly makes us different, or that somehow enforces or reinforces this idea that we're separate, right? We have taken this thing that is neutral and used for teaching, that can be used for teaching. It's totally neutral, can be used for teaching, and we turn it into something, we basically give it power to further perpetuate the belief in separation, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's still an illusion.
Correct.
When we see that we're all one with God and God is all, then that's the truth.
Right.
That is the truth, the ultimate truth.
Right.
We are love.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been around from
And yeah,
forever.
anything that seems to be a lack of love, right? We made, and we can unmake it simply by removing our belief in its reality. We unmake it simply by removing our belief in its reality, because anything we're making from a lack of love, or anything we're making from fear, anything we're making from an idea of separation, or the illusion of vulnerability, or any of these things, is stemming from a thought of vulnerability, a thought of separation, right? A thought of fear. And that thought comes up and we believe it.
Yeah.
We don't even notice it. We don't really know where it's coming from. It just seems to come up and we believe it, right?
Just
And so then we make it, right? And we believe in what we make, right? Um, so the first step in this whole process of kind of seeing clearly is to watch what thoughts we're believing. Watch what thoughts we're believing. Just understand, and without judgment. Oh, there's a thought of fear. I recognize we have a choice. I can choose to give power to that or not. I can choose to invest my will into that. Am I willing to believe that thought of fear? Oh, there goes your willingness. Now you're believing that thought of fear.
Yeah.
Or am I willing to see clearly? Right? And then your willingness goes towards that.
well said. Well said.
It's fun.
So I remember this story when I used to read the Bible often. When Jesus enters the temple, where they used to do the sacrifices in ancient Israel, that old time. And it's the scriptures in Matthew chapter 21, verse 12 and 13. And it says, Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making a den of robbers. I thought it was always an interesting story because we always remember, like in a lot of stories, Jesus is very calm, always controls his emotions. But there's this one story where he just flips tables and minds like sends these merchants away from the temple because they're
Sure.
supposed to be a place of prayer. And I don't know if you ever heard that story or not, but I always thought it was an interesting story.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, my first thought is like, he might not have even been angry. He might not have even been upset,
Yeah.
you know? There's a big assumption to say like, oh, he's really upset doing this, you know? Because you imagine that you would be upset.
So maybe he wasn't upset.
Maybe he wasn't upset.
Maybe he was just telling them like, could you take your business somewhere else?
Yeah. Right? This is a place for prayer, right? Not for changing of money, right? It's really, I think that's a great analogy and a great teaching to recognize when we're using something for the wrong purpose. For example, using the body for the purpose of spiritual growth or using money to get further ahead in this dream, right? It's not going to get you any further ahead. It's not going to make you any more connected or any more well off or any of these things,
See,
right?
at that time, Rome came over and their money was worthless. Then they had to use the Roman denarii. So it's like it's funny how money, like you all invest in time,
Right. So it's
something changes and there you go.
yeah.
Now your money is worth nothing.
So I would look at, well, what is the value taught from the story, right? Recognize that it's a story. Whether it actually happened or not, whatever the details are about it, what is it pointing at? Right? It's pointing at a misuse or a misuse of um, space, right? A misuse of creative potential, a misuse of time and energy, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. Um, and maybe he did feel upset. Maybe he did go in there and say, fuck you guys. I'm throwing your shit on the floor. Get the fuck out of here. My house, my rules, you know?
Because then they killed them after some days after that story. They crucified him. So it was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, I mean, maybe. Who knows?
That's how the story goes.
Right. Yeah, totally get it.
The one written.
But I'm just saying like even if he was upset, it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect for learning, right? Perfect for him, perfect for everyone, you know. There's nothing that there's nothing that anyone can do wrong. Being upset, not wrong. Right? What is it pointing to? What is it pointing to? You know? Um, Recognize you're choosing it, choosing an upset feeling, right? You picked it out. And then you're pretending like you didn't, right? But you chose it. You totally chose it. So, oh, go ahead.
No, because sometimes it seems like in this dream, people try to make you feel guilty if you have emotions of being upset. But if we haven't, if it exists, there's a reason. It must teach us something.
Yeah, and ultimately it's teaching you that you don't want to be upset, right? So, an upset feeling feels very uncomfortable. recognize that you're choosing it, and then ask yourself, do I want to choose this? Is this what I want? And there's probably going to be a voice that says, yes, this is what you want. This is totally justified. You want to feel uncomfortable because something outside of you is making you uncomfortable. And it justifies your discomfort, right? So, if you ask for justification of why you're uncomfortable, you can totally find a reason. And it's going to point to something outside of yourself that justifies the discomfort. Um, really, the only reason for your discomfort is because that's what you think you want. And ultimately, what that's coming from is that you think you want to be separate from God.
That's what they chose with him in that story,
Sure.
the majority,
Yeah.
not all.
What you really want is perfect peace and happiness. All that Jesus wants for everyone is perfect peace and happiness. All that God wants for everyone is perfect peace and happiness. Whether you believe it or not, all that you want for your brother is perfect peace and happiness. All that you want for yourself is perfect peace and happiness. And you can have it. And you can have it, you know? But you have to choose it. You have to choose it. Yeah, if something's coming up, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Um, but I think there's a feeling of like, oh, this is coming up for a reason, right? Gives it power, gives it a new flavor of power, you know. Um, you're saying this is coming up for a reason, as if the reason is anything but you choosing it. You know, there's no reason for anything coming up except that's what you chose in this moment for it to come up, for this feeling to happen, right? I think one of my favorite ways of looking at it is to allow it to be meaningless. To be like, oh, this feeling is coming up. I'm choosing it. I'm choosing this discomfort. I let it go back to meaninglessness. I don't make meaning out of it. I don't say, oh, where is this feeling coming from? Why do I feel this way? What justifies this feeling? What do I need to do about my circumstances to make sure that I don't have this feeling again? Because this feeling was definitely caused by my circumstances, or it's caused by someone outside of me, right? So I just allow I allow the story to disappear. If the feeling comes up, have the feeling. Feeling is totally neutral, right? It's our thoughts that make it a bad feeling or a good feeling. Allow the feeling to come up. And if it's not attached to a story, I used to say this a lot where it's like, it seems to be that feelings like come up and then they go down and they come up and then they go down. And and then we have this other plane of existence, which is like our stories, our mind, right? And if what we think happens is that a feeling comes up, right, on its own, when really our mind has a thought, right? A thought triggers a feeling, and then they kind of join together in the middle, right? A thought triggers a feeling and they come together, and you say, oh, here's the story that justifies the feeling. Ding, 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 ding. But if you have a thought and it brings up a feeling and you say, oh, there seems to be a feeling, but there's no story attached to it. It's just a feeling. The feeling's going to go back down. If they attach, if you say, oh, there's the story that justifies the feeling, oh, there you go. Now you have a story that justifies a bad feeling. Or a bad story that justifies a good feeling, or a good story that justifies a good feeling. Right? And really, these are just interruptions to good feelings. Right? Because again, perfect peace and happiness, total joy. total happiness, right? That's a great feeling. That's who you truly are. That's your true state, right? So these thoughts and these feelings coming up and attaching to stories seem to be temporary pulling you away from your experience of just an awesome feeling, just having a good time. It's temporarily distracting you from your ability to have a good time. It's just a distraction. It is in no way preventing you from having a good time, simply distracting you from it. And all it takes is willingness. And at first, it seems to take effort, right, to remove the story from it, you know? And then it seems to be easier.
Yeah.
And then it seems to take no effort because it is natural to you, you know?
Practical thing that I discovered or that somebody has showed me to pause the mind from all these distracting illusion thoughts is whatever you're doing. Well, if you're driving, continue to drive, but if you can, just stop for a second, close your eyes, and start breathing and just focus on the breathing. And it's almost like pressing a reset on the thoughts. And then you can start off again. It's like, okay, did not care for all those thoughts that were making me feel maybe negative or heavy or whatever. Let's just reset the thoughts
That's so fun.
and then put in some, I'm happy. It's a sunny day, or it's a nice, relaxing, rainy day.
Yeah,
I have friends. I ate some food, blah,
sure.
blah, blah. Just new positive things
Sure.
to think about.
Yeah.
That's something helpful that helped me.
Nice.
And then the prayer is like the ultimate
Yeah.
thing. It's just
Yeah.
just asking you, you have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an important point to bring up. We have these tools for helping us kind of get out of the seeming like negative thought loops, basically, you're saying. Right? It's like you have this like negative thought loop. It's really hard for you to feel like yourself. You feel not like yourself, basically. You're feeling uncomfortable. And just taking a moment and taking a moment, breathing in, breathing out, calming down. I would say instead of looking outside of yourself to justify a good feeling, right? Because you're saying, oh, it's a beautiful day, it's sunny outside, I have friends, this and that. You're again looking for circumstances to justify a feeling, right? So I would bring it, if we're going to bring it back to the truth, bring it all the way back to the truth and bring it to, um, I am a good feeling, you know, essentially,
Yeah.
right? So again, instead of bringing it to like, oh, I have so many things in my dream life to be grateful for,
Yeah.
right? Bring it beyond that. And I think that's where prayer can be really helpful too, because you're saying, I am grateful for all that I am. And and in saying I'm grateful for all that I am, you recognize your all-powerful creative mind, your total perfect love, your total innocence, peace, happiness, all of these things. Um, I think that taking that moment and taking that breath, right, is really helpful and recognizing that it's just about seeing I have a choice. I can choose differently, right? So the alternative to I have a choice, I can choose differently is this is happening to me, essentially, right? So, but I really want to emphasize it has nothing to do with taking a deep breath, right? It has nothing to do with, um, a meditation practice. It has nothing to do with some sort of ritual or spiritual ceremony that you're doing, or even a prayer. Oh, I didn't pray today, so that's why I'm in a pissy mood, or oh, I ate today, so I'm feeling better. It has nothing to do with any of these things that we seem to do. Um, has everything to do with the fact that you took a moment and chose differently.
Yeah.
You made the choice to
Change.
watch your thoughts instead of believing them blindly,
Yeah.
right? You made the choice to, and I joke about this, it's like instead of putting your own collar on and allowing and putting on a blindfold and a collar and allowing yourself to be led around by whatever thoughts come up as if they're as if you want them, as if you want to believe them, and as if they're true, as if you do believe them. You just let these thoughts totally, you're blind and you put on your own fucking leash to be like dragged around the world that way. And all you're doing in this moment is saying, oh, wait a second, whoop, I'm totally free.
Yeah.
I don't have to be dragged around the world on a some sort of collar of my own torture creation. Um,
And it's interesting because I've asked different people, like, have you tried meditation? Because it's from people who are like stressed out from work or stressed out from the news of wars and this and that, everything going on. So have you tried meditation? It's very calming and relaxing. And this is an interesting answer that they gave me is, oh, I can't even get there. I've got so many thoughts. I had so much going on in my life. I just can't even not think of anything. I can't do
yeah. Yeah, you don't need meditation.
yeah,
Meditation does nothing except what you make it do,
yeah.
right? Except what you make it do. I think it is a helpful tool to again watch the thoughts, a helpful mind training tool to have time, to choose to have time where you're sitting still and sitting quietly and watching what thoughts come up and allowing them to be meaningless, right? So it can be a helpful tool, but it's not, it's not essential, right? And you don't need it. And if as soon as it turns into a justification for a bad feeling, oh, I didn't meditate, so now I'm having a bad feeling. It's like, okay, you defeated the purpose of meditation. You turned it into a magic trick. You turned it into something outside of yourself that somehow contributes to a good or a bad feeling, right? There are also different kinds of meditation. I talk about this a lot where it's like, oh, you can do an introspective meditation, right? Where the world kind of falls away and you're just like really calm inside.
Yeah.
Or you can do an extrospective meditation, right? Where you almost turn down your body sense and become one with everything outside of you, you know? But it doesn't matter, you know? It does nothing.
Yeah.
It does nothing. It's all made. It's all made. And I really think that, fuck spiritual practices, honestly, because it's just a justification for guilt, right? Oh, I didn't do my magic trick, so now I have a bad feeling and I should have done it because I just yelled at my kid. I just had an upset feeling and it's because I didn't do my meditation practice, and now I'm guilty. Having the upset feeling is my punishment for not doing my meditation practice. You know, it's like that's not how it works at all. You know, do everything, do nothing. Do it on a super random, do it super random basis. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I don't have a fucking meditation practice. Someone was like, "Oh, I used to meditate all the time and now I don't. You're so good." And I was like, "Am I?" They're like, "Oh, you're so spiritual. You're so good with all of that stuff." I don't have a spiritual practice like that. I'm not doing the same thing every day, you know? There's no pressure. My spiritual practice is all the time. Anytime a thought comes up, anytime an uncomfortable feeling, right? Not a bad feeling, uncomfortable feeling, right? Anytime an uncomfortable feeling comes up, oh, there's my spiritual practice.
That's when I.
There's my spiritual practice. There is the perfect opportunity for me to bring in love where there seemed to be a lack of love, or bring in trust where there seemed to be a lack of trust, bring in forgiveness where there seemed to be a lack of forgiveness, you know.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Okay.
Speaking of which, we'll do a meditation group here and no, I'm just kidding. No, we probably will. It'll be fun. But to keep it super lighthearted, no pressure. We're here to have a good time.
Yeah.
If you have a good time meditating, let's do it. Let's do it in the same room. That's it. Super simple. Super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of parties. Meditation party, all sorts of potlucks and conversations and events and music and art and dancing and freedom. Just totally be yourself. Totally be yourself and trust yourself. Trust yourself that you can't do anything wrong for anyone, for you or anyone, you know?
Love. What is love? Because one thing I've been trying to do is, I've been trying to be thinking in the mindset of the true love that God has and that sparked him to share everything with everyone.
Hmm.
But then it was very interesting. Somebody asked me, but David, you can say all these wonderful things about love, but what if somebody doesn't know what love is?
Hmm.
Then it's all just going inside one ear and out the other. To you, what is the meaning of love? What is it?
Hmm. I would say twofold. I would say total acceptance, right? Unconditional acceptance. You know, for example, I love you just the way you are, exactly as you are, no matter what, right? Um, it's like caring for them, you know, wanting uh the true feeling of wanting perfect peace and happiness for someone, right? And sharing that with them.
I am willing to learn what true love is.
Hmm.
Do you think when we are in that mindset of true love, do we behave in a certain way? Will our behaviors change when we are aligned with the thought of love, true love?
Sure. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if anything, it's just that your thoughts, your mind will change. Because you're going to look at whatever happens, whatever you do with perfect love and total acceptance and total perfect peace and happiness, total trust. Anything that seems to happen, right? You're going to look at that way differently than if you're looking at it from a perspective of defensiveness or fear, or as if you could do something wrong. So your behaviors could be the exact same. The whole circumstances, the whole world could be the exact same, right? When you're seeing clearly, when you're looking at it through this perspective of love, it's going to be way different. It's going to look way different, but it's all going to be the same. It's all going to be the same. So your behaviors might be different if you want them to be. And ultimately, I think the behaviors would be different if your behaviors before this like change in perception, right? If your behaviors before um, seem to really be stemming from a place of lack of love, right? Then you're in this mindset of love, behaviors might seem to change. You're going to behave differently if you don't believe in lack. If you believe in lack, your behavior is going to be like, oh, I got it. Oh,
Yeah.
got to secure it, you know? But if you don't believe in lack, you're just like fucking free falling. You're having such a good time. You're cruising. No matter what happens, no matter what you seem to do, no matter what anybody else seems to do, you're just happy. You're just so happy. You're just so lovely. Because all you want for yourself or anyone else is perfect peace and happiness. Interruption-free happiness. Happiness sans interruption. Nothing, you don't need anything to change, you know? You don't really want anything. Don't need anything to change. Just whatever comes up is totally perfect. Right? There's kind of there's this sense that there's no future focus. Right? Nothing is pulling you away from the perfect peace and happiness of this moment. This moment's totally perfect. And whatever you seem to do in this moment's totally perfect. You know? Even if it is wanting something or thinking of the future. You say, "Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome. Seem to have that thought. That's great. Perfect peace and happiness." I love you. I think that's it for today. Yay! Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching online, and we will see you next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. for Spirit Speaks, spiritual conversation and discussion here at Undefined Wellness below the Main Street Museum in White River Junction, Vermont, or via the internet. Join us for A Course in Miracles study group where we read through and talk about it together on Thursdays at 6 p.m. in the same locations. Woohoo! Bye.